Welcome back. Today we're diving into a specific passage that really tackles a fundamental human idea, generosity. We're looking at 2 Corinthians chapter 8, and honestly, right away it just throws this extraordinary example at you.
It really does. Yeah, the source material gives us this great window into these early communities,
Hmm.
how they supported each other. And it kicks off immediately highlighting the churches in Macedonia.
Ah, right, the Macedonians. Their story is, well, pretty wild when you think about it. Tell us a bit about that context.
Well, what's fascinating, yeah, is their situation. The text says they were going through a most severe trial and extreme poverty.
Okay, so severe trial, extreme poverty. That doesn't exactly sound like fertile ground for, massive generosity.
That's the paradox. But the text says their overflowing joy, somehow in the middle of all this trouble, led to rich generosity.
Hmm.
And get this, it says they gave as much as they were able, and maybe even beyond their ability.
Beyond their ability. That's really counterintuitive, isn't it? How does that even compute? And they weren't like pressured into it, were they?
No, not at all. Actually, the opposite. They urgently pleaded, the text says, for the privilege of sharing in this. It really emphasizes they did it entirely on their own.
Wow. Okay, so it's driven by joy, by this deep desire. But there's something else there too, isn't there? Something foundational.
Absolutely. The text points out that it wasn't just about the money, or maybe not even primarily about the money initially.
You mean the part about giving themselves first?
Precisely. They gave themselves first to the Lord and then to us in keeping with God's will.
Mm. Mm.
So you see, the giving of their resources, it sort of flowed directly from this deeper prior commitment.
Hmm.
That sets the stage for everything else.
Okay, so that's the benchmark, this Macedonian example rooted in depth commitment. How does the text then apply this? It seems to pivot a bit towards the Corinthians themselves.
It does. It urges them specifically to excel in this grace of giving too.
Urges them. Okay.
Yes, but notice how it's phrased. It's very careful. It says explicitly, I am not commanding you, but I want to test the sincerity of your love by comparing it with the earnestness of others. So it's not quite an order.
Right, it's more like an invitation. Or maybe a challenge based on what others have done sincerely.
Exactly. A test of sincerity put against the backdrop of the Macedonians' earnestness.
And the ultimate example, the ultimate motivation given.
Yeah,
It's not just the Macedonians, is it? It goes even deeper.
that's right. It points directly to the grace of Christ. Though he was rich, yet for your sakes he became poor, so that you, through his poverty, might become rich. That really grounds the whole idea. Giving isn't just a financial thing. It's rooted in this profound self-sacrifice.
Okay, so that's the why. And then the text encourages them to actually follow through, right? To finish the job they started.
Yes, to complete the practical task they had already shown, willingness to begin a year earlier, which leads us to a really key principle.
The one about willingness, I think this often gets missed.
It does. If the willingness is there, the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what he does not have.
So it's not demanding equal amounts from everyone. That wouldn't make sense. It's about equal willingness or maybe equal sacrifice relative to what you actually have.
That's a critical distinction, yeah. What matters is the heart behind it, and giving from your actual means, not from what you wish you had or what you don't have.
And the goal here, it's not just like temporary relief for the people receiving the gift.
No, the text is aiming higher. It says, our desire is not that others might be relieved while you are hard-pressed, but that there might be equality.
Equality. What does the source actually mean by equality in this context? It sounds potentially radical.
Well, it clarifies it's not about some forced leveling. It's about mutual support, reciprocity within the community. It says, at the present time, your plenty will supply what they need, so that in turn, their plenty will supply what you need.
Ah, okay. So it's a flow. A sharing back and forth based on need and abundance at different times.
Exactly. Then there will be equality. It even pulls in that Old Testament reference about gathering manna, remember?
Oh, yeah. He who gathered much did not have too much, and he who gathered little did not have too little. Everyone had enough for their needs.
Precisely. It's about ensuring everyone's needs within the community are met through this shared economy, you could say.
And the text doesn't just stay theoretical, does it? It gets practical about how this collection should actually be handled. It mentions Titus and some others.
Right. It emphasizes the importance of integrity and transparency in the administration, making sure everything is done properly, not only in the eyes of the Lord, but also in the eyes of men. Basically, avoiding any hint of scandal or criticism about how the generous gift is managed.
So trustworthiness was key.
Absolutely. It highlights the character and the zeal of the people chosen to handle the funds.
Okay, so let's recap maybe. This chapter hits us with this incredible, almost paradoxical example from the Macedonians.
hmm Poverty yielding generosity.
Then points to Christ's own sacrifice as the ultimate model and motivation.
Right. The ultimate why.
Defines true generosity not by the size of the gift, but by the willingness behind it relative to what a person actually has.
Yeah, crucial point.
And sets the goal as this kind of internal community equality, this mutual support system,
Handled with integrity.
all handled with practical integrity. It really does challenge a lot of conventional thinking about giving, about who can be generous and why.
It absolutely does. And it leaves us with a pretty significant thought, I think. If that's the standard, if true generosity is about willingness from what you have, rooted in commitment, aiming for this mutual support,
Mm.
well, what does that principle really imply about how we view our own resources, our own plenty, or even our little? How does it shape our view of sharing, especially maybe when we feel like we don't have that much to give?
That is definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for digging into this with us today.